And now, it's time for a Star Trek story. My question of the day, Ellen, how do you successfully subvert audience expectations? How do you do it right? What's the secret sauce here?
I would say, I think it kind of depends on like the creative team behind it, because one thing we've talked about when kind of bringing back older properties, like throughout whenever I've come to visit, would be Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And I feel like obviously, like, you know, the tone of Twin Peaks is quite different than Star Trek, but there are like parallels in terms of like, because I was here for a lot of like TNG, like making a return to TVs, like having like a film version that kind of ties back into like the main series that you're watching. And I think one thing that really works well about, with like Twin Peaks coming back in terms of like fans really enjoying the return generally, is letting kind of David Lynch, like as a creator, and having him still be like involved and still like knowing all of these characters really well, be able to like have this full like creative control that even like during the end of season 2 of Twin Peaks, like he wasn't showrunner for a little bit, and then they brought him back for like 2 or 3 episodes, and those episodes in season 2 of Twin Peaks, like I don't watch them. I don't like those episodes. Like I just kind of like skip over them a little bit.
Yeah,
like I think even if you don't have like this like auteur like helming the entire series, I think making sure that there's someone involved who has like a clear artistic vision of what they want to accomplish with the show that they're putting together, and is also someone who like kind of understands with what they're working on, like makes it special. Like I think it has to be both things. Like
I would agree. Like a good mix of like you need to understand the thing, but you also have to have a vision for where you want to take it. And but that can be a really, especially for these well-established properties, that can be such a hard tightrope to walk. So, like, I guess we can see, as we are, in fact, watching Star Trek today on today's episode of Star Trek Stories. Wow! Can you believe it? Wow. Yes, welcome to Star Trek Stories, everyone. This is episode 96, Maps and Legends. I am your disruptive host, Jaron. Yes, we are starting the back half of our look at modern Trek, where we're doing a little mini pilot season, looking at the beginnings of all these modern Star Trek shows. Last time we watched Remembrance, the first episode in our 3-episode Act 1 of Star Trek Picard, where we saw Patrick Stewart almost get blowed up in a big Hollywood explosion at the age of 80. Oh, no. Oh, Patrick. Oh. Yes. And coming on to continue this little Act 1 of Picard journey, we have a couple of returning guest hosts on with us. One of whom you've already heard, sitting in the captain's chair. Once again, we have the very lovely Ellen Marie Lewis back on with us. Hello, Ellen, again. Hello. How we doing?
Hello, how's it going? How's it going? I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back again.
Of course. For those new to the podcast, Ellen is, of course, a good friend of the podcast, dear friend of mine, and buddy from the old Sundance days. Yay. Ellen, of course, you were here for the last episode. If I recall correctly, where we left off after episode 1, you said you were intrigued to see more, even though you did have some questions about this show.
Yes.
Okay. So before we get too much into it, any either predictions about what we're going to see or hopes of where this would continue?
I feel like I'm open enough to see where like the tone goes in episode 2. I feel like you know, a lot of times with the pilot, you're just kind of trying to get like the exposition out. So I'm not sure if I necessarily have any predictions. Like, I would like to be surprised and not like have something that I can actually predict, especially being more of like an outsider as well. Like, if I could predict it, that's maybe not a good thing.
No.
I will say my overall hope is, because I've not looked it up on doesthedogdie.com, that we do not see any dead dogs today.
Okay, fingers crossed that we don't see number one, the bulldog.
Number one in name and number one in my heart.
Yes, best character. Okay, big hope for continuing on. The dog doesn't die, but otherwise open to seeing where this goes. Okay, good place to be. Good place to be. Well, also returning onto the podcast to continue this little journey. On my left, on the big green comfy couch, once again we have the very lovely Tyson Baker back with us. Yay! Tyson, how are we today?
Doing pretty good. I'm glad to be back and continue the journey of Act 1 of Picard.
Yes, hell yes. Also, if you're new to the show, Tyson is a good friend of the podcast, dear friend of mine, and former member of the old boys' house back in the day. And we were also all Sundance buddies, all three of us, all together. Yay, little mini Sundance reunion for Star Trek Picard. Tyson, you, of course, were also here last time. I also believe that you were intrigued to see more, but I think you had a few more reservations than Ellen did.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you? Any predictions or hopes about what we're going to see next for this second episode, this middle chunk of our Act 1?
If Riker shows up, that'd be swell.
Okay. Hoping Riker shows up. That's my hope. We always want Jonathan Frakes to show up.
I don't know. I feel like it's something that I've seen before. Like, it feels like Firefly. Like, I love seeing Patrick Stewart on screen, and just Data. I mean, Brent Spiner's great. I don't know. I'm kind of going off of the veneer of everything, I'm trying to latch my fingers onto something deeper. But that's I always want kind of something that a piece of media that makes you think deeper about yourself. And the first episode of Picard, I mean, there were certain things. It definitely touched on my nostalgia button.
Sure.
And the feels and the action, like, and it's very dramatic. Like, there's all these kind of, it's like they put all these ingredients into a cake, and the cake isn't. It's sweet and it's tasty, but it's not like succulent, I guess, or it's not like
so like Box Mix.
Yes, it's Little Debbie, maybe. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah. Just need a little more substance with all this. Sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on to the episode itself, I'll throw the question of the day out to you, Tyson. What do you think? How do you successfully subvert audience expectations? How do you make it work?
I'm going to pick up on what Ellen said, where it's and what you said too. It's this fine balance of knowing the thing that you're talking about and having an idea of where to take it. Like, a bunch of ideas popped up in my mind of, like we mentioned last time, like Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul. I also think of Firefly and then Serenity. Mm-hmm. But these are the creators were the same in those regards. I guess a kind of more negative example, or not negative, but like is Star Trek and then J.J. Abrams. And J.J. Abrams, he's like, oh, I like Star Trek, just like, but his heart was in Star Wars. He was waiting to like do the next Star Wars movie, which he did great or whatever. But like, it's like, how do we put this dark edge and make it relevant and make it edgy and realistic and and it was a fun movie. When that movie came out, the first 15 minutes of that, the 2009 Star Trek was, makes you cry, and it's so moving and dramatic. But also there's some, after watching it a second or third time, you're like, oh, this is like red matter and like it's like lens flare. Like Deep Space Nine actually is a great example because like there's these two established. They have Star Trek series, but then the people who created Deep Space Nine, as far as I understand, and I haven't gone into a deep dive of it, but like they knew, you know, the original series and Next Generation, the kind of these hopeful, kind of somewhat campy sci-fi series, and then Deep Space Nine is like, well, what if we make it stagnant? And what if it's like modeled after the Wild West, and and there's these tropes.
They don't go boldly going; they boldly stay in one place.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and the experiment of that. I'm sorry,
it's a bit darker, and it was a very different show than Next Gen when it came on. It was just like, what is this? But then it worked.
Yeah,
like because it still kind of stayed true to the whole kind of core of what Star Trek is about. It just kind of inverted like the lens you were looking at it through. It's like instead of like boldly exploring outward week to week, it was kind of more of this kind of, it was more introspective because these characters just were in the same place week after week. So it was a lot more about these people living together, and there was still this exploration, but it was much more about exploring themselves and their community together. And I'm like, yeah, this is still very Star Trek, just in a very different way to do it. You know, bringing that up, that makes me think about, I think I would add on to what you guys have said of, I think it works also if it feels organic, like it feels like this is like, oh yeah, this could absolutely happen to this character, or this character might actually do this, or like just something organic to the thing itself, where it feels like it even though you're subverting the expectations, once you do it, it still feels like it's a very natural progression of like, oh yeah, of course this would happen. Like, so it still feels really true and authentic to what the thing is, rather, because I think when it doesn't work for me is when it's just like, that character would never do that. Like, we have spent so long establishing some of the stuff, and you can always tell when suddenly something just happens for the sake of, you're like, well, that would you've already kind of set up this character and how they act. So when they suddenly, like the final seasons of Game of Thrones, like when Tyrion Lannister suddenly is the dumbest character in the world, I'm like, you guys have set up that Tyrion is the smartest character for seasons we've been getting, and now he's just incompetent. Like, what? But to milk drama out of it. So when it feels, I think it doesn't work when it feels exploitative or like shock value just for the sake of getting when it's trying to get a reaction. I don't think that's when it works. But when it feels like an authentic, like organic continuation of the thing itself, I think is when it does work.
Totally self-contained. I think it, you know, again, it's a very fine dance. It's a very fine line to walk when you're gonna take an already established brand, an established story, universe, whatever, and make another an expostulation of something. Yeah,
I would agree. Well, I think we can see if Picard can successfully subvert our expectations for a TNG sequel series, because yes, we are in fact watching Star Trek Picard once again on the podcast today.
This far, no father.
This far, no father. Yes, Maps and Legends. This premiered January 30th, 2020. This is the second episode of the first season of Star Trek Picard. And as we said earlier, we are watching the first 3 episodes of Picard. As the showrunner said, the first 3 episodes make up Act 1 of this first season. And to at least watch those episodes to give the show a real chance. So we are continuing along that journey. So yeah, we can see how we feel about how this kind of continues the story we started in the last episode. All right, everyone at home who's going to watch along with us, Star Trek Picard is streaming on Paramount Plus. You can find it by bringing up Season 1, Episode 2, and we will be back after we watch Maps and Legends.
reinstate me. Temporarily, for one mission, I will need a small, warp-capable reconnaissance ship with a minimal crew. And if you feel that my rank makes me too conspicuous, well then, I am content to be demoted to captain.
Sheer fucking hubris. You think you could just waltz back in here and be entrusted with taking men and women into space? Don't you think I was watching the Hollow the other day along with everyone else in the galaxy?
Should not have spoken in public.
The Romulans were our enemies, and we tried to help them for as long as we could. But even before the synthetics attacked Mars, 14 species within the Federation said cut the Romulans loose or we'll pull out. It was a choice between allowing the Federation to implode or letting the Romulans go.
The Federation does not get to decide if a species lives or dies.
Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Thousands of other species depend upon us for unity, for cohesion. We didn't have enough ships left. We had to make choices. But the great Captain Picard didn't like his orders.
I was standing up for the Federation, for what it represents, for what it should still represent.
How dare you lecture me?
Ignore me again at your cost.
My cost?
You are in peril, Admiral.
There's no peril here. Only the pitiable delusions of a once great man desperate to matter. This is no longer your house, Jean-Luc. So do what you're good at. Go home. Request denied.
All right, we just got done watching Maps and Legends. In case you have never seen this before, didn't watch it with us. So to try to recap what we watched, I guess it's on the screen right now. There is a flashback to the attack on Mars that happened like 14 years ago when we see that they have created android like Data like androids, but aren't Data. They're just kind of more like automatons. But then all these androids like attack the shipyards like 14 years ago, and this is the event that has caused them to now ban all synthetic life. And then we just kind of pick up on kind of all the threads from the first one. Picard and his Romulan like housekeepers are investigating like Daj, who died in the last episode, and they're in her apartment doing some forensics, trying to get more clues. His housekeeper, Laris, does kind of tell him about this secret Romulan organization that exists called the Jot Vache, and that they guard some terrible secret, and they have for thousands of years, but no one knows what the secret is. But one thing she does know is that they hate synthetic life, and she says that Romulan society does not have like AI or any of this in their culture. So we do know that about them. We catch up with the other android sister Soji on the Borg reclamation project, and we see that she works there, and she's been hanging out and sleeping with this Romulan Narek. He is there spying on her, trying to get information, and we get introduced to like a couple of characters like Commander O or Commodore O, who's in charge of Starfleet security, but is I guess secretly a Romulan Jot Vache operative, and she has a little sidekick, Lieutenant Rizzo. Not Rizzo the Rat, unfortunately. but it's also I guess they imply that she is also secretly Romulan and is in disguise, and that Narek, who is on the Borg cube, is also her brother. They throw out a line real quick where she calls him brother. So we learn that he's trying to figure out information from her, and apparently they're trying to see if she can help them find other additional androids that maybe Bruce Maddox has created, but it's still kind of vague. Meanwhile, Picard he's decided that he's gonna go off into space looking for Soji, this other android sister, but they don't know where she is. But his Romulan housekeepers, they're like, you can't go, you're too old, it's too dangerous. He's like, I have to go. He tries to. There's a scene where he's initially trying to do this through proper channels, and so we get a scene where we learn that he has put in his request to be reinstated, and he recently had a med exam, and one of his old doctors from the USS Stargazer, the ship he was on before the Enterprise, he comes to kind of tell him the results, and they do establish that Picard does have a defect in his brain, and essentially the doctor says that this is going to kill you at some point, is basically what that scene was, which is a callback to the All Good Things episode, because it's established in there that old Picard has this brain defect. Then we get a scene of him going to Starfleet headquarters where he meets with the head of Starfleet, and he requests to be temporarily reinstated so he can go looking for Bruce Maddox. And he's like, yeah, there's Romulans working on Earth and everything. And they're, but she doesn't have any, she's not having any of it. And we get the sheer fucking hubris. She tells him, no, you're crazy. I'm not reinstating you. Your time is done. Go home. But he's not going to let that stop him. We get a scene where he calls up a former colleague of his whose name is Rafi. We get introduced to her really briefly. She is living in a trailer out by Vasquez Rocks in California. And they have used that location for numerous alien planets throughout the entire Star Trek franchise, all the way back to the 60s show. But this is the first time it appears actually as itself, as actually Vasquez Rocks, which is a fun little,
cool location,
fun little detail. Yeah,
that's cool.
So he calls in a former colleague. She's kind of living there. We only get introduced to her briefly. She definitely has some beef with him. We don't know why, and she tells him to leave. But he's like, well, secret Romulans are working on Earth. And he's got a bottle of wine. She's like, yeah, okay, you can stay.
$22.89.
The $22.89. I think that covers it. And then, yeah, the episode ended on I was actually, I'm like, oh, that's it? The credits? We learned that Narek's sister spy is also coming to the Borg cube to supervise him as he's trying to get information from Soji. That's the note it ends on. We'll start with initial thoughts. Tyson, we'll start with you. Initial thoughts on Maps and Legends.
It felt like there very little happened, but they talked so much about it. And it was just so much information and kind of expectation of what you think, what the creators are expecting you to kind of to pick up on. And I mean, it's very intriguing, but you have to be I literally had to lean forward a couple times because I was just like, oh, okay, but this is what's going on, and I kind of get an idea of what's going on, but it was so hard to follow for me. Granted, I have a short attention span myself, but I'm like, what is happening? There was very little movement, but they definitely were invested. and talking a lot about it and acting it out a lot. Just like watching some of these scenes as it's playing on in the background. Like, I feel like they're looking at each other like, yep, this is what's going on. Are you picking up what's going on? And they're like, yes, I am. Like,
that's kind of what the whole episode felt like. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? I think I am.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next scene and let's throw down
Do you
some
know
more
what
stuff.
I am saying? Yes, I do believe I know what you were saying.
yeah. And it's very, very, I mean, it's not like it's not connecting to what has been established. It's just so much bloat. It feels like bloat. It feels like, I don't know. I can only, I get very comparative, because the best Star Trek episodes, it's like, I'm riveted. Like what is happening in the story is like, there's something human about it, like, or there's something pivotal that it's easy to follow because stuff is happening. And it felt like 2 or 3 things were actually happening in this episode. And so for 45 minutes, they were talking about these 2 or 3 things that they acted very little upon. I don't know. I'm speaking in generalities, but
know. It's hard to fully like talk about.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on.
It reminds me of there was this joke like years ago on Twitter, like when it was still called Twitter, that was like if there was a show called Surf Dracula in the 60s, you would see Dracula go surfing every week. If there was a show called Surf Dracula that came out now, it would be at least 8 episodes before Dracula got a surfboard.
Got surfing. It's so true.
That's great.
That's so true. Yeah, Alan, initial thoughts on Maps and Legends?
God, all of these new characters that they're introducing and telling us a lot about, like, I feel like for the most part, like the new companion of his that's out in the desert, like, I feel like we can kind of get an idea of like history behind them. All of the interactions that we've had so far with like Alison Pill, like I've generally liked, but also she's, an established actress that I feel like, has worked with like a lot of really great like TV directors even. Sure. And it's kind of like a mixed bag, honestly, how well that like chemistry works. Even like with some of the scenes that are entirely new characters, which is a lot of the show for being called Picard. We're not spending a lot of time with Picard yet. But like one of the scenes we just saw was Soji. I keep trying so hard not to say Soju. Soji and the Romulan whose name escapes me, the one who looks
Narek.
like Nosferatu, Narek.
Yeah.
Like they're like kind of like post-coital in bed having like some banter, and there's like no chemistry between them. Like it is really just like
we don't
like,
even know these people yet.
Yeah, we hardly know them at all. I barely know their names.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just like not really much of a spark between them. Like it's very like uninteresting, like the relationship that they have with each other. At least, at this point where like we literally don't know them. Like it just felt like kind of almost like some like padding where we're like, we have to add something from this last episode with these characters. Like, let's have them fuck, I guess. Like,
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
briefly introduced in the last episode, and then they're
very
in bed
briefly,
together.
like literally the last scene that was
And-
like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
if you're gonna fuck someone you barely know, more power to you. But like at the same time, like that doesn't mean it has narrative significance in your life, let alone in like the limited amount of time that we have in like each of these episodes.
Each.
Yeah,
Story. What story? Who cares? They're fucking each other.
Right.
Like,
right. It's it's a good point you bring up about Alison Pill, where it's like I feel a little more like tethered and grounded with her, but that's literally because I recognize Alison Pill, not because I really understand or appreciate this character.
Like the fact that we're referring to her by like the actress's name and not the character's name, I think says a lot about it.
Yeah, so
like,
Dr. Alison Pill shows up.
Yes.
Yeah, she got introduced in the last one, Dr. Girardi, and she used to work with Bruce Maddox and Android, so she's kind of like the AI Android specialist. But so in both episodes, all she has done is just do expository Android stuff. Like that's it. Like, and again, I'm like, I still don't really know you as a character, and like it's really hard to latch on to any of these characters, and except anytime Picard shows up, Patrick Stewart's almost like, oh, thank God,
Right.
because it's like he's the one person you can kind of latch on to. And it's a strange choice for like a sequel show. You're like, people are coming back to like, oh, I want to like, specifically because we're bringing back an old character, but then they surround him with all these like, who's this? What's happening? I feel like for me, like, this is a market, and I think we were all fairly on the same page in the last one. They're like, we may have had some questions, we may have had some reservations, but we were generally intrigued by what could happen, where this might go. And it feels like this is already a pretty marked step down, and like that even deflated some of the intrigue. I'm just like,
Agreed.
you guys are talking about a lot of stuff, but I'm like, nothing's really happening. It's just it's so much plot. This is one of the plottiest plot episodes of Star Trek I've ever seen.
There was this moment too when we were all watching it where I think it was one of the housekeepers was like, well, what if you put a team together? Riker, Troy, LaForge, and we all were like, oh, like, are they coming back? Then he's like, no, not that. And then, yes. Like, give us someone else we know, like, who your relationship with is, that we can like keep going forward from there, please.
Right. I mean, like, even the choice of bringing in the doctor, who was great, but I'm like, what about Beverly? Like, Dr. Crusher, like,
missed opportunity.
And there's famously a doctor that you know that we also know.
that he's super close to.
Yeah.
Like, and you feel like she would be one of the first people he would talk to about any of this stuff. Like, in terms of our question from earlier, I like, in terms of subverting your expectations, like, I think the subverting, at least what they seem to be doing, is like, we're going to do Picard, but we're not going to bring back anything else that's familiar. It's like, that's the subversion. It's like, it's going to be a whole other kind of world. There's going to be all these other characters. This is not going to be your dad's Picard.
So you know how like Picard's like really cold and is always burning bridges with people, like.
Yeah. Wait, what was he? Like, yeah, and then like, yeah, just the fact that he's now kind of unpopular and people are like, ugh, Picard, when we're all like, oh, but we love Picard. And so it feels like they're also playing on that, like, but no one likes Picard anymore. But I gotta be, and I don't know how you guys feel. I'm like, it feels a little put upon to me. I'm just like, this to me feels like a case of subverting your expectations just to do it and just to kind of get this reaction from you without it actually feeling like, is this how people would actually be treating him? Like, I don't know, but I don't know.
It feels like lazy storytelling to me, and I was just thinking about that. Like they're expecting you to know all this information, and yes, Picard and Patrick Stewart and Borg cubes and Starfleet and San Francisco. It's like, yeah, that's kind of like, if you're even vaguely even if you aren't vaguely familiar, like they're not holding up to the responsibility of the storyteller, where it's like, okay, I'm going to introduce this idea, or it's information overload, where it's like, whoa, we're going to introduce a lot of technobabble and interesting concepts, and because we love hearing dialogue and ideas that are beyond us, we're just kind of going to go with it because we want to believe that we're smart people, but then there's this detachment, because it's like, why do I give a shit? Why? Because you're not helping. You're expecting me to be a smart person. They're not entertaining the idea, and I'm not saying that you aren't a smart person if you've never seen Star Trek, but you just need to be introduced to these seeds, these basic things of like, okay, we're going to establish that Picard is the hero. Here's his background. And they're not going, which is ironic, because I felt like this episode was so slow, but it's like the information that they throw at you and the plot that they throw at you just kind of is like, okay, catch up, come on, everybody catch up. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but like it feels like they're as a storyteller, you have to establish stonework. You have to establish a base for people to understand and to care about what is going on in the story, and nobody is slowing down to that pace. For me, who I love Star Trek, I've seen all the movies, blah blah blah. What we said in the intro stuff, like I'm like lost. I'm like, and how do you expect anybody in the modern day to pick up on and care about this show when you're not giving them an intro to it and just simplify your concepts here. Like you're just throwing so much stuff at me. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
No,
I'm very passionate about it.
I totally agree, and I also think on top of that too, the scene that is playing right now in the background is when he's with Dr. Allison Pill, and
Allison Pill.
She pulls like a book off the shelf, and he's like, "Oh, like are you reading a sci-fi book? Like I've never been into sci-fi because I couldn't really wrap my head around it." It's like, I can't wrap my head around this episode, buddy. Like,
yeah, I think that also ties into the weird subvert. Like, what if we did a scene where Picard said he didn't get science fiction, but get it because it's a science fiction show? And I'm like,
because I don't get what's going on this episode.
I think that's the most eye-rolly meta cringe ever. Like,
but again, this is what I was talking about earlier about it. It needs to feel organic to the character. I'm like, because if you watch Next Generation, like this is a very like he reads books, and this is a guy who just has such an appreciation for all sorts of things, and he's kind of like a Renaissance man. And I'm like, I don't think like Next Generation Picard would ever say that he didn't get. Like I don't know what's there to get or not to get, and like Captain Picard doesn't get sci-fi. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean he doesn't get it? Like, it just feels strange, and this is one of these things where it kind of feels a little out of character, and it's a little too meta, and it's a little too just about subverting the expectations. And again, ironically, when we're like, I don't get this. I don't get this. It's so
like
strange.
He's just like me for real? ?
yeah.
I guess on that same note, if we're talking about the expectations and everything, subverting your expectations, Next Generation was very famously bright and optimistic and carpeted and space jammies. But even though there was still really serious stuff going on in Next Generation, of course there was. But it's like, here we get definitely a very kind of different tone and feel and look. I'm curious, like now that we've gotten like about 2 episodes now, and we've seen a bit more of this kind of world. What are you guys feeling on? And I guess like the tone and world of this as compared to like something like the Next Generation.
I feel like for the parts that are more like straight up sci-fi, where we kind of talked about in the previous episode, sort of like these like kind of futuristic cityscapes and stuff, I'm not necessarily sure that there's anything that really differentiates itself from any other like contemporaries of the time in sci-fi. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like drawing inspiration or paying homage to other works. That's honestly at this point, like in the culture, like everything is an homage to something else. It's about like making something really like cohesive from like these tools that you've been given, like this like very like postmodern way of looking at things. Like that's not normally a problem for me, but it just doesn't feel like Star Trek, but it doesn't feel like its own thing either.
Yeah
That's true.
I would agree. Yeah, what do you think, Tyson?
I feel like they've definitely clung on to the aesthetic that J.J. Abrams set up. And I was just thinking meta of like back in the day, maybe, I mean, all they had to work with when they were making the original TNG episode was their soundstage, and it was probably a lot more effort to make those special effect shots of just the Enterprise or them doing an exterior shot of a planet or something, where they really had to justify to make those special effect shots, where it's so easy nowadays with computer graphics and special effects, where it's like it's like, oh yeah, like it's expected to have these post modern, views and mega structures and space shots. Like that's the easy part now. The harder part nowadays is to have like a human or an essential kind of part of the story, as opposed to just like here's all the sprinkles on your cupcake. You know what I mean? Like,
but where's the cake though?
Yeah, exactly. Like these concepts, there's like, come on, care about it, but then we'll justify it with these cool special effects shots. The way I'm explaining this is so scatterbrained, but I don't know.
That's what the episode is.
That's how this episode.
You're more cohesive than the episode, if that helps.
I don't even know what else to say for this, because again, it was all just this plot stuff and not a whole lot happened. So I guess we can get into final thoughts real quick. Tyson, final thoughts on Maps and Legends.
My final thoughts are as scattered as the episode was. I'm intrigued to see the third part of the first act as put out by the show creators, to hopefully try and garner a bit more of a cohesive arc of what they intend with this show. Hope they show more Patrick Stewart. And Allison Pill is always great. There's definitely a lot of intrigue going on. I hope they simplify, honestly.
Dial back.
Dial back. Yeah, simplify. Exactly.
Pare down.
Let me breathe and kind of get what's going on. I love the soundtrack, actually. Though I was watching the episodes. I'm like, I am a big fan of the music. I'm always a big fan of the music.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I do like the music. The music's good.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the music too.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of like a little flipped from where we were with the first episode, where I felt like I maybe had some like nicer things to say about it. I feel like, I will be watching the third episode with you all. Like I'm already signed on for that. But like if I was watching this on my own, if I hadn't seen the interview or wherever the showrunners had said,
watch the first three.
The first three episodes, like, the first episode kind of hooked me, and where I'm like, okay, like I'm interested in seeing where this is going. Like I think this would have lost me as like a more casual, newer fan. Like I would have seen episode 2 and been like, maybe I'll come back to this, and then probably not actually come back to this, So I'm interested in seeing how this like 3-episode arc plays out now, like, knowing that they're intended to be like watched together as the introduction to this new series. But like as like a a more casual Star Trek enjoyer, and also someone who has come to this a lot later than you all, like this is something that was very central to you both like growing up, whereas this is something that I've been introduced to through my time on this podcast. I've invested in Star Trek, but not nearly as deeply, where I feel like there's a chance if I watch this like on my own, like where after this episode I'd move on.
All right. Ellen is done, if not for the podcast.
Yeah, no. And not even like big like fuck this, I'm out or anything like that. Like and like we've said also, like there are like good quality parts to it, but just like if like assuming if I came onto this on my own and being like, oh, this is how the story's gonna go for the full season, like there's so many other. We have like a wealth of shows available to us on streaming, which like, is nice in that if there's something specific you want to see, like at least for TV shows, you're likely able to find it. But there's just so much like new content coming out all the time, where it's like, I feel like I have to be like selective about what I'm going to invest my time in. Yeah. And like if this is coming out same time, like mid-season as all these other shows I really enjoy, late January, early February, that's like a really peak time for like a lot of like HBO shows and stuff. It's like I think I'm gonna go back over to my friends at HBO and see what they're up to.
Yes. I would also agree. I feel very similar to this. as I did the first time. I was definitely the first time I was like, I was more cautiously optimistic. I'm like, okay, I didn't like all of this, but enough to be like, okay, I'll see where this goes. I remember watching this kind of being like, okay. All right. Let's just. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe this was just a dud second time out, and maybe they'll pick it all back up going forward. So I feel like I feel very similar. Just feel a bit more deflated and disengaged, and I think we'll end it there. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to our coverage of Maps and Legends. We hope you enjoyed our coverage, if not the episode itself. Next time, we are going to be wrapping up this little 3-episode Act 1. We are going to be watching The End is the Beginning. The End is the Beginning. Much like this show, very confusing title. Yeah, next time, The End is the Beginning. We can see how they cap off this little 3-episode intro, and if this whole 3-episode makes for a good hook to get you to watch more. And apologies to my guests, but Alan and Tyson will be back next time for that as well.
Sincerest
Thank
apologies,
you.
everyone.
You know, for some of these, I have to... they're not all going to be winners. And so for some of these little stretches, like when you came on for Seska, I'm like, I need people I can trust to go on this journey with. I can't just dump this on just anybody. It's like I need someone I can hold hands with and go into the fire together. And I was like, Alan and Tyson will hold my hand and go into the fire with me.
Hell yeah.
Riker.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Troy. No, not those people.
No, not those people.
Not the people he can hold his hands and go into the fire with.
Maybe next season. I don't know.
It's like the android at the beginning of the episode who's like, hell yes.
Hell yeah.
And then he shoots himself in the head.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what have you been up to? Nothing.
All right, Maps and Legends. I'm lost. These Maps and Legends are not good guideposts.
Oh, East? I thought you said West.
Oh, God. All right. Yeah, we will see you all next time. Hopefully, I don't know, not on Mars when it's getting attacked by hell yeah robots. I don't know.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to share us your own Star Trek story, you can email us at storiedstartrek@gmail.com, or you can visit our Discord server. You can find us by clicking on the link in the show description.